Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with a weekly check-in. I know I haven't been doing these as consistent as I would like, but I'm trying to be a little bit more present in what I'm posting on all of my social medias. It's hard. It's hard to do stuff all of the time. I don't always want to. But since we are about to start a new week, this will be a little weekly check-in for the week of Sunday, November 10th through Saturday, November 16th. Now we do have a full moon in Taurus on Friday. So let's see what we have to kind of focus on this week. So the very first card is going to be what we need to know, right? So we have the Three of Swords reversed. I feel like I pulled this last time. What we need, this is what we need to know. What do we need to do? We have the Four of Cups upright. What do we need as a collective to release? Strength reversed. And what do we need to contemplate as a collective? The Hanged One reverse. Now, I kind of feel like these need to be the way that they are, so I'm not going to move them around. I do want to perhaps, I'm trying to think of what deck I want to use in conjunction. I think since we're going to have that moon, I'm digging around, sorry. I should have been a little bit more prepared, huh? So we do have the Moonology Messages Oracle. So let's see. Let's see what our message will be as a collective for this week. That did not work. Watch me struggle and shuffle. Small hand problems as I continuously struggle along struggle bus. Oh my goodness, this is like not giving me a good time. All right. Let's see. And what do we need to know as a collective? New moon with beginnings. Okay. All right. I think I have everything I want to pull today. So let's focus on what we need to kind of focus on this week. So the very first card for what we need to know is the Three of Swords reversed. When I think of this card, I think it's very much a card where we have been feeling very sad, isolated. Maybe we're internalizing and overthinking some of the heartbreak or some of the things that haven't really come together the way that we thought they were going to, because the swords are very much about the mind, right? So they can really focus a lot on what we're thinking, our truth, our sense of empowerment through the connections and the communication that we have in our lives. So I think that this is almost saying like maybe we're internalizing a lot of this, where maybe we feel it's not the best time for us to really share who we are, what we want to do, how we're showing up. And so it's very much this kind of energy of almost feeling like we're a little cut off from ourselves in some ways because we are not acknowledging some of the heartache or what we have lost here. The Three of Swords, as many may know, is a card of loss and heartbreak. And I think the most significant thing that kind of comes from it is just the sense of something that we had wanted and really put a lot of our effort into, not really panning out the way that we had anticipated. So there is a lot of this sense of maybe overthinking, like, well, maybe I was being a little bit delusional. Maybe I wasn't really paying attention to some of the signs here, or being quite so connected to what's actually going on. So I think with what we need to know here is that maybe we just need to acknowledge how we really truly feel about things, not isolating ourselves, not dwelling on our sadness, and not dwelling on what we perceive as the loss in this situation, whether that is, what's going on as a collective here in the US. I know that the energies are a little weird. A lot of us are kind of feeling this heaviness with things not really turning out the way that we had kind of anticipated. But then I also feel like this is also a time where many of us are maybe reflecting on things that maybe didn't pan out the way that we had anticipated this year. I think it's kind of the collective of just we're wanting to kind of reflect and see, what have I been doing? What makes me happy? What, really is connected for me? So I think what we need to know is that maybe we need to kind of connect a little bit more to what we truly feel in our situation. And just really recognizing and understanding that heartbreak, loss, things not working out is a significant part of the life journey, right? All of us experience it at some point or another. Now, what we need to do, we have the Four of Cups. Now, this is typically a card of like discontent, kind of not really enjoying and seeing things for what they are. There is a little bit of this energy of, oh, this didn't, really work out how I had anticipated. And so now I'm just going to kind of like pout and just throw a fit about it and just like not really actively do anything. So with what we need to do, I think that maybe we just need to reflect on, okay, maybe this didn't turn out the way that we had wanted to, or the way that we had planned, or maybe some of the emotions that we're feeling weren't what we had kind of anticipated. But what is the lesson here? What is it that maybe we can kind of take away from this? Whether it's, hey, I just need to kind of honor my feelings. I need to just address what I have going on with me and how I'm showing up in this energy, and also what that means for me in the long term. I'm going to try not to sneeze. I think with the Four of Cups, there is a little bit of this sense of, again, like discontent is kind of like the word that just comes up for me with the Four of Cups. It's not really seeing, what is still left here, like what we can do with what is still being offered, even if it's not what we had initially gone after. So there may be this sense of maybe dealing with some heartache or some loss and kind of acknowledging what didn't work out. And then also just kind of that understanding and knowing that we're just not very happy with how things are shaping out at the current moment. But that doesn't mean that it's not something that will be beneficial later on. So I think the Four of Cups here is just kind of saying like what we need to do is focus on what do we still have? Because fours to me really are the energy of foundation and structure. And if we kind of even relate it back to astrology, it's home, right? So I think it's almost saying like, okay, what is home for you? Like, what do you need to kind of do within yourself? And when I also think of this energy, because it is cups, it is emotions, it is relationships, it's intuition, it's our feelings. What have we not been allowing ourselves to really feel at this time? So there may be something here that is kind of saying like, yeah, it may not have worked out how you wanted it to, but there's still something here that is of benefit that you can kind of move forward with and utilize in this next phase. So we move on to what we need to release. We have strength reversed. I think strength is one of these things that a lot of us feel like we have to constantly lean into. And we feel like, oh, I just have to kind of just take it on the chin and just kind of keep going. And I think that the energy with everything is almost saying like, that's enough. We don't need to just consistently put on a brave face just to make other people feel comfortable with what we have been carrying or what we have been experiencing. I know that it's easier said than done to just kind of say like, oh, just like feel your feelings and show up for yourself and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of strength in vulnerability. And I think a lot of us over the years have kind of felt extremely isolated, or like we have to kind of hold back, or we can't really show up authentically in some ways because we're afraid of how that will be received. And I think with strength reversed here, it's almost saying like what we need to let go of is kind of leaning into ourselves so much and feeling like it's not okay for us to ask for help, to say, hey, this is how I really feel, or hey, this is what I've experienced. Hey, this is where I'm at in my life. And I know it's so hard to ask for help. I totally struggle with this all of the time. And after just this year, for me personally, it's like I feel even more so like it's even more challenging to kind of speak up and say, I need help, or hey, can somebody show up for me in some way or some form? I think with strength reversed here, as far as like what we need to release, it's a reminder that maybe we have been hanging on too much and too highly into feeling like we always have to be the ones that figure it out on our own. Maybe this like hyper independence is not always going to be the best thing for us. And especially this week, I think that this week, maybe we're coming to this realization of like, oh, I need community. Oh, I need people around me. Oh, I need to have other people also lift me up in some way. And I think with the strength card reverse, especially given these other two cards, we're kind of seeing this like pattern of like, are you doing this in a way that is just going to continuously be more harmful for you moving forward? And what is it that you feel like? Where is it? Pride? Is it a sense of, I don't know how to ask for help, or when I have asked for help in the past, I didn't receive it. So why am I going to make myself vulnerable again to that, to those feelings or that heaviness or that sense of like other people are not always going to come in and save us? And unfortunately, we need each other, right? I mean, unfortunately, in the sense of, I think a lot of us, especially I think here in the US and American culture, is that we're forgetting and we don't have a sense of community. We don't have a sense of like physical, like support in our day to day lives. A lot of people are very isolated. A lot of people are very hyper independent or so busy trying to survive that they have forgotten the importance of coming together and sharing, resources and community and just like being there for one another. It's such a big part of the human experience. And as someone that comes from a different culture where we very much celebrate community and, that interdependence within family and community, it is very challenging to live life in a completely different way. And I think that these cards are just kind of saying, like, okay, we have to acknowledge what we've gone through, what we've experienced, but are we unnecessarily isolating ourselves and not really seeing what's actually here? Even if things haven't really worked out the way that we thought it was going to, it isn't about you kind of leaning constantly back into yourself and saying, I have to figure this out. I got to see how this is. And I think that's why we have what we need to contemplate is the hanged one reverse, or the hanged man. And essentially this is kind of saying like, maybe we always feel like we're the ones that have to sacrifice, or we're the ones that always have to kind of show up in this energy of like truly knowing what comes next. The hanged one is also this kind of energy of suspension, of changing our perspectives. It's very much about like looking at things from a different point of view, even if it's something that we've always known. With this being reversed, is that maybe we've been too much in this like sense of, what do I have to give up to kind of have what I have, or to continue where I'm at? And what is it that I need to do in order to make other people feel comfortable? And I think that this is almost saying like, maybe you need to kind of contemplate why you feel like you always have to give up something. Why is it that you feel like you're the one that has to kind of put yourself on the line, or that you have to kind of put yourself in a suspended kind of energy before you see things shift? Now, with these two major cards at the end, I feel like maybe we're illuminating some big lessons, and these are internalized. So I feel like it's very much kind of pointing this energy back at you and kind of saying like, all right, are you going to kind of put your fears aside and ask others to kind of step in and help? Do you feel like you have to consistently sacrifice something within yourself or within your situation in order for it to be worth it? Because that is something I tend to struggle with quite often, is I don't really like to ask for help. It is hard. Now, as far as like just an affirmation for this week from our oracle cards, we have new moon beginnings, which is funny because we actually do have a full moon in Taurus on Friday. But I feel like with the slow moving kind of energy of Pluto kind of stationing into Aquarius on the 19th, some of us are kind of finishing up certain lessons. We're finishing up certain things where we're really focusing on some of those Plutonian energies and letting ourselves be transformed in some way. We're kind of ending certain relationships and thoughts about what Pluto and Capricorn has been teaching us for the last 16 years. And I think that that's where we're feeling a lot of this sense of like, I'm ready for that new beginning, even though we're kind of moving into winter, which is probably not the best time to plant stuff, but some things, do thrive. I think that beginnings is kind of saying like, maybe it's time for you to kind of change what you're going after, what is driving you, what feels connected for you at this time, and what you need to value. Now, because we do have Pluto kind of moving, I'm going to also do a resurrection oracle card, because why not? Let's see what is being resurrected at this time. What needs to kind of shift here? Because I kind of feel like I want to do one more little thing to see what is up with everybody. And so here we have face value. Now, this is an interesting deck. I don't really use it too often, so I don't really know exactly what this means. So we're going to look in the book real fast and just kind of get some guidance from there and see what this means. So true to you. This is the week to really start moving back into this energy of really understanding who you are. Like, what does that mean to you? And maybe this is kind of saying like, we've been taking people at face value, but that doesn't always mean that their word is their bond or that they're actually being true to themselves. And maybe this is guidance for us, is to kind of see past some of the illusions that we've been seeing in certain ways or in certain facets. And so maybe it is just kind of saying, how can we speak the truth? Because we have that swords card here too. How can we look at what the truth is? Because again, my truth, your truth, somebody else's truth, they can be very different things and still feel like that is the truth. And so I think that this is almost saying like, how can you show up in this kind of energy, being authentic, being yourself, really looking at and receiving people where they're at without questioning what that looks like in some ways. So I think that this is almost saying like, maybe we really need to see past some of the things that we want to see in certain situations or relationships around us. And maybe that's where some of these new beginnings will also start, is a sense of kind of moving out of this energy and really understanding that we need to stop expecting ourselves out of the people that we are surrounded by. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is going to make sense for everybody. I really do hope that everyone is taking some time to slow down a little bit, kind of reconnect. I want to say thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope that you enjoy this reading. As always, let me know what you guys think. And if you need to book a personalized reading, you can always check out my shop. Have a good one. I appreciate you being here. Take it easy. And as always, make good choices. Bye.